Welcome back to another episode of Two Dimes and a Token. I'm one of your hosts, Bruck Nasty. In this particular episode, we interview with a great friend of ours. His name is Eric Potochney. He's the head football coach over at Weber International University. In this episode, we got where he started his journey, where he started his football journey when he was a kid, going all the way up to where he first went to college over at USF and then transferred over to Weber International University where he played. And he was part of the original first-year players at Weber International. So it's actually a phenomenal story. They had 70, I think he said 70 plus guys changing out of two garden sheds, basically ran an entire football program that we all see on television out of two garden sheds. So it's a great journey that he's able to walk us through while also telling us what it's like transitioning from playing football to coaching football, what it's like coaching guys that he played with. The transitions going through the different spot coaches as far as linebackers coach all the way to defensive coordinator, all the way up to being a head coach of an entire team. So great episode for you guys. The last thing I think we have for check-in, yes, is this is one of the last weeks that you are going to be able to go into the merchandise stores. Remember, we're donating 100% of our profit over to the Tampa Bay Heart Walk. The event for the Heart Walk is happening in November, so we're hoping by the end of June we'll have a pretty good number and we can donate to really help out and make a little bit of a difference. So I believe that is it, guys. So if still with me, if you haven't skipped over to the episode, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Two Dimes and a Token. We appreciate all the love. Make sure you guys go subscribe. And in the comments section of whether you're listening to it or whether you're watching it, go into the comments section, write down your spice of the week. As usual, at the end of the episode, we wrap up with our spice of the week. That is designed so that you guys can, we get everybody to start looking at a little bit more positivity in their lives, right? Everybody has rough days. Some people have rough weeks. But we can always look at that one positive thing that helps lift us up a little bit. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Go subscribe, hit the comments, all that fun stuff. And without further ado, here's Coach Pooch. Welcome back to another episode of Two Dimes and a Token. I'm one of your hosts, Bruck Nasty. We got Yeezy.
You know what time it is.
Our token is not here today, unfortunately. He's still down south. But we have an amazing guest with us, Coach Pooch, a head coach of the Weber International University Warriors. Yes. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you guys coming out.
You already know.
Setting up in our locker room.
Yeah, dude.
So,
it's an awesome fit, actually. This turned out to be great.
I'm glad you said our locker room. I remember a lot of dark days in here. So, this is our locker room.
So we have our drink of the pod, unofficially sponsored by Terramana Tequila. Not yet sponsored by Terramana Tequila. What are we drinking today, Coach? This is your choice.
Well, I tell you, this is something I've drank for a long time. This is going to about change your life.
Yeah.
Right here. This is the original citrus Full Throttle.
Pooch, no, we listen. We couldn't even find this drink.
I know you couldn't. That's why I said good luck with you.
Yo, right here. See? Cheers.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. So, hey.
Man, I haven't had a Full Throttle since I played here.
I know.
You know what? Everyone, I want y'all to know this tastes like shit. No, it's not that bad. All right, man. So
just burns on the way down, man. That makes it good.
It's like whiskey. So we want to get your story today a little bit, man. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what high school did you go to, what got you into football?
Well, what got me into football, I started playing football when I was, 8 years old. Little League football. Brandon Broncos is where I started.
So you were in Brandon?
Brandon.
I didn't know.
Well, I played in Brandon. I didn't live there.
Oh.
So long story short, but that's where my parents worked close to there. We went to school close to there. So it was just easier to go play there. Yeah. So did that. Grew up in Tampa pretty much my whole life. Went to Tampa Bay Tech High School. And so graduated from there and, ended up coming to Weber. After a year at USF, I went there for a year, and then I came to Weber when the program first started here. So that's how, pretty much short story, how I ended up at Weber to begin with.
Nice.
Yeah. I was always fascinated by the mere fact that how did he got here, because there's no way he was supposed to be here. We had a couple of people that like fit in perfectly.
Don't
Pooch
be
was
riding
one
yet.
of those.
Don't be riding yet.
When you see him and then you
I
see
know you
like
played
Jimmy
with him and all that
Barfield,
shit.
like it's like, okay, I'm not saying Jimmy was bad. Shout out to Jimmy. Jimmy was like a little small guy. We always know he's like Mighty Mouse. But I was like, okay, Jimmy belongs here.
Yeah.
Pooch, no, it didn't fit in at all.
I'm glad you brought up Jimmy. Can I tell a story real quick?
Absolutely.
So
Pooch, get close to that microphone.
Jimmy was a weak side safety, and we called a safety blitz.
Yeah.
So, and I saw this vividly. There was a run play that went away from Jimmy, and he blitzes off the edge, and he is running and chasing. You see his feet just flipping.
Yeah.
Shoes flying off. One shoe goes this way. One shoe goes over here. And he just kept on running and still made the tackle, and then went back and picked the shoes up, came back to the huddle. He ran so fast, he ran out of his shoes.
That was Jimmy, man. He was just a down and dirty type player. Like,
Yeah.
it was an honor to back him up. Normally, I'd be like, you know what, that's my spot. But he just left it all out on the field.
Yeah. That's fantastic, dude. So, what was the year that you officially got to college here?
So I graduated high school in 2001 and went to USF that year, so 2001. 2002 was the first fall. So the fall of 2002 was the club season, 4-game schedule that started football here at Weber.
That was the inaugural season.
That was the official club season.
Yeah.
The official inaugural season wasn't until 2003.
Gotcha. Okay. What was that like, man? What was the startup like? You had 4 games, and how many kids did you even have on the team?
We probably had about 70, I would say.
Wow.
Something along there. But they call us the Shed Boys, is what they is
Shed
what the
Boys.
nickname is now. But truthfully, it comes from the fact that our locker room, this was not here.
Yeah.
We changed every single day for practice, before and after, into garden sheds. And we would hang our stuff up on these hooks with our equipment, with our shoulder pads and our helmets and all that. Take all of our pads out of our pants and put them on our little loops, click them together, and then we would drop them in the middle of the floor, and then they would wash our clothes that way. But that was literally where we changed that every day. And it was so hot. It was just miserable. I look back and it's like,
holy shit.
What was I doing?
What was happening?
It was definitely a humbling experience, learning experience.
Yeah.
And it gave so many kids an opportunity to stay in state.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about going all over the place. And but it was definitely a unique experience, which has now led to obviously this, but it was eye-opening to say the least.
Yeah. So Weber basically sprung the Sun Conference kind of thing. The first team in it. Then you had a bunch of other NAIA schools all around that started putting together programs years later and kind of started. Well, I'll throw this out. Who won the first official Sun Conference championship?
Oh, Weber did.
That's there. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. Everyone to everyone else. So now you're in this experience, man. Like, what's going through your head? You finished with 4 games. You've been changing in the shed. You don't have what everyone else is experiencing. You don't have a full locker room. You don't have all the best trainers. You don't have all the best equipment. You are just figuring out, like, you start. What's going through your head? Are you like, dude? Or do you have the ambition of like, no, we're going to see this through?
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much how I approached it is, you got an opportunity to play the game that you love. You got an opportunity to continue to play with the brothers that you've bonded with, over that year time. And I think that's kind of what kind of pulled everybody together there in the beginning. But, at that time, it was just different. No, you're not thinking about, all the extra things with, stadium and what's my locker room look like, what kind of fancy things that I can get. It was more just kind of that hard hat mentality and, all right, we just finished these 4 games. Now we're about to get into the next season. Now we're officially about to start, our college football season, hit the summer and let's go work, let's train, and let's get ready to go. And it wasn't about all the extra fancy things at that point.
I miss that mentality.
Yeah.
So now, what was your senior year here that you played?
06.
06. Okay. So I heard through the grapevine through some people that you set some records here in 2006. Do you recall any of this or?
Yeah, there's a few records that still stand.
What are they?
There's a few. Single season tackle record is the one that was set in 2006.
It's like 150 or something.
I said
like that.
167 with Nate. Was that right?
My record? No, it was 141 was the record.
Okay.
So with 10 games.
141?
Yeah.
It's about 14 tackles a game with
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you Sunterra Solar Solutions, a leading-edge solar company committed to making sure they provide a phenomenal experience to its customers. Going solar was one of the best decisions that I ever made. Not only did they provide me a no-hassle experience, it didn't feel like a sales experience. It felt like an amazing person-to-person having a conversation on whether solar was going to be right for me. I was fortunate enough to not only lower my monthly energy cost, but they gave me an option to be able to create a stabilized monthly bill that I could prepare around. I qualified for a new customer incentive that put cash in my hand after installation, as well as I qualified for a tax credit at the end of that same year after I had it installed. All in all, not only was it the best decision I ever made, I lowered my monthly energy costs, I stabilized my bill, I put a ton of cash in hand. It felt like I got paid to go solar. And my most favorite part that I haven't even mentioned, it eliminated my exposure to future increasing rates from the utility companies. So if you think going solar is the right thing for you, by all means, hit us up in our DMs. We can connect you with a sales associate today. And now back to the episode.
Wow. I don't think that's going to ever, be touched. Nate came through here. Grady came through here. I don't think no one's going to, you guys aren't going to have a 10-game season like that anyway. But nevertheless, that's never going to be touched.
That's wild, man. That's a lot of tackles.
I told you he was an animal out there.
So what happens after that? You get done playing. Do you go off, play professionally, or do you dive right into coaching?
So I kind of did a little bit of both. So the first year, so I graduated in 06. I had already started my MBA to finish my last year of eligibility. Yeah. So continued on that path in the graduate program. And I joined the Lakeland Thunderbolts indoor team over there. So, close proximity. It was, 45 minutes to an hour drive. So I was actually able to kind of do both the first year, where I was coaching, helping out in the spring, and I'd have to leave a little bit early to get over and practice, with the Thunderbolts. So I was kind of doing both at the same time in 2007. And we had a really good year. We actually ended up winning a championship, that year. So that was an awesome experience. And, some of the players at that time, we even came over, watched some games and stuff too. So that was kind of cool. And, which kind of led me into the next season. I played for two different teams the next year. The first of which was the Huntington Heroes. And that's where actually I met Steve Speakman. Yeah. That's the reason that he ended up, coming down here, becoming the relationship there. And also, Coach Keaton. Yeah. Was the head coach at the time. That's kind of how that whole relationship kind of stemmed. And then ended up finishing this season with an indoor team in Florence, South Carolina, and won a championship again.
Wow.
So pretty neat experience.
Damn, how many rings you got?
I've got two from there.
Nice.
Yep. He didn't win anything here. Don't get it twisted. We didn't do anything mile marker
Not
here.
playing. Coaching, though.
Yeah, coaching. See, coaching is a little bit different.
Playing is one of those things like, hey, baby, we gonna run with it. Yeah. Run with it. Ice and stem. We got to get through.
Yeah. It was a lot more difficult back then because let's be real, when you're an independent, it's very difficult. What do you got to rank in the top 20 in order to get into the college playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, scheduling then was tough. But, yeah, independent was a whole different animal, and the travel. The travel was brutal, and the teams we had to play, and the competition. We're playing some Division I schools and Division II schools that were fully funded. Yeah. And here we are, a little NAI school, and just giving them hell and see what we can do.
Yeah, I think 2010, 2011, when we beat UNC Pembroke. Mm-hmm. What did we go that year? We went like 8-4.
2010, 7-3.
Was it 7-3ish? Something like that. Yeah. So I remember that year. That was my senior year. Yep. That was fantastic. So that must have felt great as a coach.
Yeah, no, that was a huge win right there. I mean, against a fully funded Division II program. Yeah. We beat them in 2010. Yep, absolutely.
That's fantastic, dude.
Yep.
So now after you play basically 2 years at what's a professional level or arena level, right? Mm-hmm. Do you just do 2 years or did you do more?
I had an opportunity to go back in the spring of 2009. Yeah. And it was actually kind of in between. So when 2007, I was with the Thunderbolts, still finishing my MBA. 2008, I had just finished my MBA and went to go pursue that. in the West Virginia and South Carolina deal, but I always came back in the fall and coached. But I was still part-time at that moment. And come to this spring of 2009, I had an opportunity to go play for several different teams. I looked at maybe even going overseas and kind of doing some things there, which I thought would have been a real neat experience. But then I got presented with the opportunity to start coaching full-time. Yeah. So basically the February of 2009, I just started to, kind of hang my cleats up or my shoes, so to speak, because you remember cleats indoor. But so decided to get into coaching full time, and
that's amazing.
And the rest is kind of history.
What was the transition like going from being a player to being a coach? Because a lot of the guys that you were playing here with, did you end up coaching a lot of those guys?
I did end up coaching quite a few of them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it's a different deal, because you're on one side of it, you're in the locker room, you're working out, you're sweating, you're going to practice, you're going to meetings and everything with those guys.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden that you're basically kind of in charge of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't as hard for me for that side of it, just because I was, pretty much always, a leader on the team and a captain and those things anyway. So that part of it wasn't as hard of a transition as far as getting the players to listen to what I was saying.
Yeah.
But for me, it was harder personally, because it wasn't, I can't coach you and go, hey, out here and go do this, where before I could just go do it myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that part was a little eye-opening for me, as I'm coaching guys to go do the things that I used to go do. So, that's where it kind of started to open my eyes to a different challenge.
Yeah. Did you ever have an incident where you were having to coach a guy that you used to play with and it just wasn't meshing? Like it was really hard to get through to him that, hey, now I'm here and, I'm trying to help you become a better player. We're no longer teammates. Now I'm the guy that's helping you to get better. Did you ever have an individual instance where that was like difficult for you?
No, and no, not really. And again, I think that was because I was always kind of in a leadership role anyway.
Yeah.
And, I did have a good playing career here. So I think the respect was already there from a lot of those players, where it's not like, I was telling them to do something that I didn't do, or, the conditioning side of it, or the weightlifting side of it, or things that I didn't do myself.
Yeah.
And even now today, like I don't ask kids to do something that I have never done or I wouldn't have done myself. So from that perspective I think there was already a natural respect level from the players at that time.
Nice.
I'll tell you, it was a little different. You really gravitated towards the Shed Boys more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It was that was just his group. Kyle Dix, all the rest of those guys were. It was just, you couldn't take that group away from each other. Like no matter what, you were seen as a leader, especially when I got in here. And then all of a sudden, once the Shed Boys graduated, it just ascended. Yeah. I used to go to like the Dolphins training camp, see like Zach Thomas, see them practice against Brian Urlacher, and then I see you out there, and I'm like, man, he's just like these guys. I wonder where your career is going to propel, because I don't feel like Zach Thomas had anything that you didn't have, or Brian Urlacher was just that dog, and you had that same dog in you.
Yeah.
Being here, do you think it limited your access to going to the next level, like going to the NFL? Did you ever dream about going there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody, if you commit that much time to playing this game, you're going to dream about playing it professionally, whether it's football or baseball, basketball, whatever. So yeah, definitely had those aspirations. I think then early on in the program, as far as how new it was, how social media wasn't as prevalent. I do think that it wasn't as good then as far as being able to get noticed as it is now. And then the connections and things that we've built, through a lot of professional teams and just having our conference now in the state of Florida gives a lot more teams publicity. So it's definitely, it's not easy to make any NFL team, let's be honest. But I think as far as the exposure portion is night and day what it used to be. Given the opportunity, I would have went on to try to play and see what I could do. But on those times, it's you were limited as far as how many people were watching you play, or how many people even knew what the heck is Weber football.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm glad you guys have got Pooch wearing a hat, because with that light coming off that ball
The best part is it picked that up.
Yes.
Hey, there we go.
I
That
think
was Tim
Pooch has always been
DeMarto,
bald.
head athletic trainer.
Yes, I think Pooch has always been bald.
Yeah.
It's one of those
Yes.
things. Like,
Since
That was a good thing about it. You never got helmet hair or nothing. Hat
Yeah.
hair, you don't get any of that.
since he was 4. I don't know anything about that. I've
Yeah.
always had hair.
he always used to say, some people came in his locker room, they looked like Tarzan, but played like Jane. So, Pooch always carried this helmet like he was Tarzan when he came into this building. Like, and I wanted to say
He's
transitioning.
been riding the whole podcast.
Going. No, but transitioning from coaching to playing, the hardest thing is having people care about what the foundation that you laid down.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't this way when you got here. You built everything. And to see it grow from where it was when you first got here to where it is right now, it's a sense of pride that comes along with it.
Right.
A lot of the alumni that we come together with have the tattoo of the Warriors and so on and so forth. You're carrying that pride. Do the kids now have pride in what they do here?
It is different, where we talked about, you talked about laying the foundation, and you talked about the Shed Boys, how we were always a tighter group, and I think it was just because we had a different relationship and just because of, what all transpired in that short period of time actually brought us together. But I will say that, it's hard to understand the progress and everything that this program has made if you weren't in it and watched it do that. And it's hard. I mean, if, we're talking 20 plus years of football.
Yeah.
And, we're asking young kids now who are, crazed about social media and everything else to relate back to how it was 20 years ago, 30 years, 40, they have no concept, because the way it is now, they just see it for face value.
Yeah.
So that is probably the toughest part about coaching in general, whatever sport it is being able to relate to the new generation of kids. And I've fought it for a long time, the whole Twitter battle with recruiting and everything else, and finally I had to just jump into it full stream because Twitter is such a huge recruiting tool for us. So it is completely different, with the type of kids it was, before with what it is now. And I think social media has definitely played, a huge part in that. Well, maybe 20 years ago we were just dumb, and maybe everybody's just smarter now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's tough. It's tough because there's only a small select group of kids that you recruit or guys that come play for you, just have that hard hat mentality. I don't care what my uniform looks like. I don't care what symbol is on my cleats. I just want to go out to the field and I just want to go play.
I was going to ask you that. So you kind of dove into that a little bit. Do you find it more difficult to coach kids from 2010 comparative to coaching kids in 2022 since we're going into the 2023 season? What's the biggest change that you've had to make in your coaching style in order to be effective in coaching kids then and now?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, and I think that's something that you struggle with it all the time, and I do think that with kids nowadays, they're more analytical, where they process things in a different manner, to where you almost have to present them with the why we do it, and the how we do it, as opposed to just go do what I said.
We just talked about Grady about that.
Yeah, we were
It's
just
different.
in that conversation, man. We were literally talking about him being a teacher. We asked the same question basically, but being a teacher instead of a football coach. And it was different styles call for different students call for different styles, right? However, back in the day when I was told something on a football field, I didn't ask why. I just did it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or I did the best I could at it, right? Whereas now it's like with all the social media, I think that brings about a lot more knowledge that kids soak up. So I think kids coming up, maybe, I'm going to use the word, some of them can be a little bit more entitled, but I think a vast majority of them gain more knowledge faster than what we did when we were 10, 12, 15 years old. You know what I mean? So like now it's like you have to say why you're telling them to do this for them to really have passion and want to do it. Which I was amazing that you pulled that up just because we just talked about it.
Yeah.
Not only I wanted to say the pride that came along with it. The reason why I had pride, being here, is because every year we had to do those 110s in order to make the team, and you would see kids like dropping like flies. Like, oh, everyone thinks, okay, it's WIU is a small school, anybody can play there. Okay, come on the field with us, and then you do those 110s, and you see people just hang it up, and they never pick it up again after that. Like, if this is what I need to do in order to be here or to play football, I won't do it again.
Right.
In this new generation where there is no two-a-days, the heat is a factor. We've seen, all the reports and all those things that, say is bad for us. Do you still have the same threshold? Do they still start the season out with those 110s and separate the man amongst boys? Do you still do that?
We don't do that part of it. We call it tour duty.
Okay.
Where we have the different stations that everybody kind of goes through. So it's more kind of drill specific, where we still have that same, try to push that same mentality on having to finish, but we do it more in groups. And so that's kind of where I felt with the 110s part was it's more individual, where if we're trying to promote team, play together, that part of it I don't think was really as relevant. I think it was a good test as far as, are you in shape? Yeah. But as far as how do you, the main objective, we play with 11 people, right? We're not out there running. It's not a track meet. It's not tennis. It's a team. So I think that kind of promotes a little bit more of that, that team atmosphere and kind of pulling together. So we do same concept, but we just kind of go about things a little bit different, from that side of it. But as far as, being able to push kids and that things, we do some different things. For instance, like all of our home games, we play at 1:30. We don't have lights on the field, so we have to play during the day. So coincidentally, we practice at 1:30 on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So that's what I preach to our kids. This is our advantage for our home game. How many of the teams do you think practice at 1:30 in the afternoon?
They don't.
None.
They don't.
So that's our advantage. That's how we get advantage on game day, because we play at 1:30, we practice at 1:30. So, try to get them to understand, hey, listen, we're just going to live in this heat. You can't let it affect you mentally.
Yeah.
You got to block it out. Let them worry about it, because we're used to this. We do it every week. So we do different things like that just to challenge them mentally outside of the 2000s football team where, just go do it because I said so. This is why we practice at 1:30.
Yeah.
Right? We have to tell them the why. I mean, the same thing with my 10-year-old son. We'll go do this. Why? Well, first of all, it's because I said so. Yeah. Second of all, well, you got to do it because this, and this, So
I got you.
I think it's a lot of the same concepts, but you just kind of have to.
No, I'm mad you got rid of it. I'm mad you guys got rid of it. That was for me. Every year, we the whole summer. I stayed here throughout the summer.
Listen, your boy passed for that. All 4 of them, baby. I never failed one. You know what I'm saying?
It might have took him 2 weeks, but he got him done.
Yeah. What was it? What was it? Like
that.
cheaters?
I did it.
Yeah.
Was it cheaters, lions, and like
no? That's
something else.
We interrupt this episode to bring you Joe's Backyard Barbecue, a delicious, amazing, gourmet type backyard barbecue meal with the most amazing service and the most amazing person that you can have at the helm, cooking those amazing ribs, the amazing brisket, and all the wonderful spices and barbecue sauce that you can imagine. So if you're in the Lake Worth, Florida area, make sure you go and see your boy Joe at Joe's Backyard Barbecue. And now back to the episode.
So you've transitioned, you've been here since the start, and you've played every single role that you can in this program besides offensive coaching, pretty much, right? So what was the biggest transition? Because you were a defensive coordinator for how long? How many years?
From 2011 up until this year.
Yeah. So you've now been the head coach for, you were interim, so it would be 2 years, right?
Yes, though officially, it'd be going on to, let's see. Yeah, interim before, so I guess it'll be my second season as the official head coach.
What was the biggest transition that you had to make personally going from defensive coordinator to now head coach?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I've actually had this talk with our coaching staff and quite a bit. So, to be honest, for a lot of years, we weren't very good on offense. So I had to train our defensive guys to understand that if we give up more than 14 points, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
So basically I made it a point to make our defensive guys the biggest pricks that they could be.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be like that on Saturdays, then we're going to practice it all week. And we're not going to give the offense anything all week long, because we had to get them to understand that mentality. Now, on the flip side of it, when I became the head coach, I knew now I was in charge of the whole program, not just the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. So that had to change. But I also knew that I brought an offensive coordinator that I was confident in that could get the job done. And now we've hired another one too, and I'm confident in him as well.
No one with DJ?
Nope. Jason Robinson is a new offensive coordinator.
Gotcha. Okay, man. I thought DJ was doing a great job last.
He was. But he decided to get out and kind of go a different route with his career stuff, and something that's a little bit more flexible with family and stuff like that. I mean, it's tough during the season. You're 89, 90 hours a week, bro. I mean, it ain't for the faint of heart.
I was going to say, dude, when I was a GA, I mean, I was in this locker room doing shit for probably 15 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Between when the players aren't even here, then you're out at practice, then you're fixing shit after practice, cleaning shit up, all kinds of stuff. Not to mention you sit down with figuring out game plans, figuring out coaching strategies, all that stuff. It's a lot of shit.
So head coaching role bridged also because I was still running the defense at the time.
Yeah.
But now I kind of had to take a step back, and the way I had trained these guys to practice, I had to try to undo a lot of those things, because truthfully, that's not the way you were supposed to prepare throughout the week. It is if you can't score any points.
Yeah.
But now that we finally started to establish some things and we could score, I had to kind of pull back on some of the defensive guys who we basically trained to be killers.
Yeah.
And get them to understand this is the new way we practice.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, go kill somebody every day. It's, no, we got to get him to Saturday because we need him on Saturday. I need you to do this throughout the week to get yourself ready. Where before, when I was just the defensive coordinator, it didn't matter what they did on Saturday anyway. I knew we couldn't score any points. So I had to train these guys to have that mentality every day. So that was a little bit of a challenge, to be 100% honest. That was the hardest thing about going from defensive coordinator, coaching the position, now in charge of everything. And I had to basically scale back the defense a little bit and pull those guys back, because we were trying to catch the offense up to, where the defensive was. Because there was, years that we had, we were top 5, top 10 in the country in a lot of categories defensively. And, we were trying to get the offense to that point as well. And, once you're in charge of both sides, in charge of the whole program, it changes your mentality quite a bit.
Yeah.
As far as, the things that you have to get done.
Yeah. So, last season, what was your overall record?
Last year we were 6-4, and then we won a exhibition game, whatever, to unofficially finish 7-4.
Unofficially. So, coming up for 2023 season.
Yep.
Right. What do you feel the season's going to look like for Weber International?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. We've kind of gone through, quite a bit of things. I think we've got some decent kids coming back. Mm-hmm. I think we graduated quite a few guys.
Yeah.
Some of those guys that I was talking about that kind of helped with the transition from old defensive regime to getting them to understand, we lost some of those kids too. Guys that have been with me for the last 5 years, if you consider COVID years and everything else.
Yeah.
So we have some spots to fill in the secondary. I think our box is going to be pretty solid on defense. Offensively, we graduated a few offensive linemen, graduated a quarterback, graduated a couple of receivers that could really stretch the field for us. But I do think we have some good guys coming in. I think we've hired some good coaches, and I think we've hired some guys that can really push our guys that we have coming in. And I think we have a few decent transfers coming in that can help us, along with some of our freshman class. And so to be honest with you, it's going to be real interesting to see, because we do have a decent group of guys coming back. We've signed a decent group of freshman kids. We've got kind of some transfers in it. So truthfully, it's going to depend on how fast we can gel them together.
Yeah.
You know, because we're definitely going to have competition at every position, and that's all you can ask for, right? Go compete, see what's going to happen. But we're still looking for a couple guys in the secondary,
Yeah.
And then probably one more offensive tackle. And I mean, I will say that, you know, we're just in the beginning of June, you know, and we need probably 3 to 4 varsity guys, where in the past we were like probably need 15 still at this point.
Yeah.
So we're getting better from that side. We've got, you know, a few different things that have changed for the better as far as, you know, scholarships and recruiting budgets,
Yeah.
which have really helped us. And, you know, administrative wise have been, you know, fully supportive of some of those changes, which help us get some difference makers. And so, and that, you know, we pretty much got 3 things that we need to kind of tackle as far as, you know, how to really get our program where we need it to be.
Yeah.
And those 3 things are facilities, which we're making some progress there. We have some plans and things for making our field better, you know, recruit better players. And I think some of those scholarship structure stuff that we have in place are letting us do that. And then, you know, get better coaches. So we've got some things in plan there as far as how we can try to pay our coaches a little bit more. And I think that'll be the kind of the last key piece as far as out of those 3 steps.
Do you think this is going to be a little bit of a tough one for you, brother? I know you're not going to want to answer this all the way. Do you
I don't even
ever
like
get-
the way you started that off.
Do you ever get into a situation where you're pushing to make this program better? And we all know when you're passionate about something, whether it be football, whether it be a personal project, whether it be a job that you're creating, a business you're building, you're going to push to the fullest. You're going 110 miles an hour to try and make this thing the biggest it can be, right? Do you ever feel like you run into blockades having to deal with people above you? Say like what athletic director, say like president of the university. Do you ever run into those types of hiccups, and how do you deal with those things?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I understand that it's not going to, and nothing is immediate.
Yeah.
Everything takes time. Everything takes money, you know, and there's a lot of steps to trying to build anything that's worth having takes freaking time. So we kind of understand. Now, what I try to do is I try to tackle it with smaller, obtainable projects, goals, what have you, you know, with, you know, a bigger one kind of on top of it. But I think the school is wants to see the program succeed, you know, administrative wise and everything. I think, you know, our athletic director, Brad, is fully behind everything that we're trying to do, and understands that, you know, a lot of the different facets and pieces as far as how we're trying to put everything together is very supportive of that. And it is tough because, you know, with that, you want things to be immediate, never happens. Yeah. So you got to try to figure out how to kind of build a lot of these small things in together to make big goals. But I think we are making a lot of progress. You know, we're short, you know, some money for some different projects, you know, which instead of being able to do it in a year, sometimes takes 3 years, which can be pretty frustrating, you know, at times. But I haven't really I don't really ask for things that are ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You know, we try to get things done that we really need, or you know, from recruiting or from an organizational standpoint, or for the coaches or for the kids, or, you know, we don't ask for anything that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we try to have, you know, smaller obtainable goals, you know, and things with a little bit, you know, keeping budgets in mind and all those things. So I think I've had to change my mindset on a lot of things as far as, hey, we need to get this done next year. Well, this is kind of a 3-year plan, you know, on how to get some of those things done. So they are supportive, you know, to an extent, but we're very conscious of our budgets and the things that we can do. So I think, you know, the support is there. You know, obviously if we had more financial support, that would make everything a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I think we are moving in the right direction on a lot of those different things that we just talked about.
So what happens if you bring a national championship to Weber International? Do those budgets get bigger?
Well, we'll see. I mean, let's try to win a conference championship first, and then we'll get the rest of them. But
I like
we
to
win
run
one,
before I
then just
can
trying to go run another, trying to go win another one.
Well,
There you go.
I look at it, this is for the future recruits that are looking at this and they're saying, weighing the option whether they want to come here or not. This is a real, gut punch question to ask you.
Yeah.
What makes this a successful season for you? Is it, we had some horrible seasons where I feel like it was successful as far as camaraderie. It just took us too long to get gelling together. What's going to make this season, 2023, a successful season for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've, kind of like with everything else, I look at it as building blocks for the future, right? So kind of taking a step back. When I was the interim head coach, we won 2 games, right? But we beat a nationally ranked Faulkner, who was ranked top 15 at the time. Nobody that ever thought we were going to do that. But our kids they just played, and we didn't do that to the end of the season.
Yeah.
We blew out Warner 72-28. We battled Georgetown, who was a top 10 team at the time, up until 3 minutes left to go in the game. And there was a lot of those games in that season. And then we get to, last year, my first season as the official head coach, we broke a bunch of records, especially towards the beginning.
Yeah.
As far as how many games are winning in a row, and I mean, there's a ton of them. So, and then we were close. We were 5-2. If we could have won a couple games, then we had a chance to get in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So a lot of things. So this year for me is, first step is bring our team together, teach them how to compete, with the teams in our conference. And the measuring stick is going to be Kaiser, St. Thomas, Southeastern. Ave Maria is a tough program too. Then you still have Warner, Flomo, and we just added Thomas University. So our conference is freaking tough.
Yeah.
Our conference is tough. So the measuring stick for me is, we want to be able to compete to win a conference championship, and teach our guys what that feels like, to be in contention. Last year we were in contention for it, but we were on the field and we were in contention, but mentally our kids were not, if that makes any sense. They wanted it so bad that as soon as a few things started to kind of go, they didn't know how to respond. So I think the challenge for us and for our team is we are young when it comes to a winning mentality, because that's something we haven't hardly won any games in 10 years up until really this point of last year. So now that started to kind of change their mentality already. Now that's the expectation now.
Yeah.
That's the new norm. So now we take that and we try to bridge it to now get them to understand how to compete for our conference championship.
I feel you on that. So, I wanted to ask you this, but what do you feel like? Obviously, we talked a little bit about Weber and where you want the program to go and stuff, but what do you feel should be the number one goal of a coach? And I know if you ask 10 different coaches, you'll get 10 different answers, right? But I've heard a lot recently, especially doing a lot of sports podcasts, sitting with guys like we sat with a lot of trainers, former players, talking with Sal up in Buffalo. A lot of the things that you'll hear is like, hey, my job is not always connected to wins and losses. My job is to make the men or women, depending on who you're coaching, when they come into this program and when they leave, just a little bit better and prepared for the next step. So what would you say is, in your opinion, a coach's number one goal when it comes to coaching and athletics?
I agree with that. I mean, of course, you're in athletics because you want to make a difference in young people's lives, and that's college sports, college athletics, high school, youth, whatever. You're using the athletic portion, kind of as that tool, basically. So the adversity that you deal with when you play any sport, okay? And obviously I'm a football coach, so we'll talk about football. But the adversity that you deal with throughout the course of a season, a practice, a game, any of those things translate to later on in life, And I talk to our guys about that all the time. The adversity and how you deal with every situation is going to be directly, influential, and you can relate to that later on in life. So if something bad happens and you lose your job, there's some adversity. How are you going to respond? Are you going to lay down and quit? Are you going to get up and fight, and you're going to get up and go find another one, find a way to make some money? Are you going, if you're down at halftime, you're down 14 points. Same thing. You just lost your job. We're down 14 points. You going to lay down and quit? Are you going to come back out and play the last 30 minutes of the game and see how? So I think it's all relative. At the end of the day, you want young people, when they come into your program, to leave better than when you got them. And I think if they get nothing else from what you try to teach them, is how to battle through adversity. Because on a daily basis how many bad things happen on a weekly basis, whatever the case may be. If you can teach them how to deal with that and how to cope with that, and not only just not shut down, but how to respond. To me, that's the main thing that I think college athletics can teach young people, is how to deal with adversity.
That's awesome.
To me,
Awesome.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go back just for 1 second. When you said going from the defensive coordinator to the head coach, my last year playing here, we played versus Savannah State and a couple of teams. We beat them, but
Hey,
We beat them.
the notion behind that was I didn't want to kill my teammates. And back when you were, just getting into the groove of things, we were practice how you play, practice how you play, practice how you play.
Yeah.
But you can't take out your teammates. Right. I had that notion as a player, like, man, I've been playing with this guy for 4 years. I don't want to cut him low. I don't want to flip him. And coaches be like, man, you're not giving us what we want because we want to see you kill that guy. You can't let up in practice and then we think you're going to execute in the game. It's just not that way.
Yeah.
Now you have the mentality that I had like my senior year, where you can let up. You don't want to kill that player because we need that player on Saturday. We need Atwood. We need these guys, Rupert, and so on and so forth. As much as you want to knock those guys out, you still know I need those guys. And the disappointment that comes from the coaches, like, you just don't have that dog in you. It's like, man, I got that dog, but you don't want to hurt your players. Now in this day and age, you grasp that concept that I don't want to hurt my players. I want them to play on Saturday. How do you keep them how do you make them let go the throttle instead of just going, training killers? How do you stop them from doing that control wise?
But still be able to turn it on.
Yeah, but still be able to turn it on Saturday.
But that's a good point. And, and that is hard to get your players to understand, But the first thing I'll tell you is, you try to simulate a lot of those things in drill work, but it's never going to be the same as doing it in a live situation. So you try to simulate some of those things, doing individual stuff and, and working some of the position specific drills and whatnot. But then we actually practice with 3 different tempos. So the three tempos that we use basically a whiz tempo, where you see, guys just trying to get in position, defensive guys trying to work on getting their body in position to tag off on the hips of the offensive guy, and offensive guys working on finishing runs, go score, every play. So we use that tempo, and that's done a lot like in 7-on-7, and things like that, where you're not trying to have to go kill people. You're just trying to work on positions, as far as your body movement. So that's the first one we use. Then we use a thud tempo, where everything is staying up top, but it's full contact, everything up top, no going low. So it's basically full speed as long as everything is up top of nothing, no cut blocks, no low tackles, nothing. And then the other tempo, which we'll use, minimally, you might use it 2 to 3 times during camp. And now we're full go, full everything. I mean, we're talking cut blocks, low tackles, everything. So I think you do it, there's time and a place to do all those things. And it has to be communicated between everybody. And I literally stop every single team drill before we start and say, this is the tempo of the drill. So that way you eliminate any of the gray area and get guys to understand this is the point of what we're doing right now. And we talk about, because we have meetings before we go, out to the field. So for those things, there is a time and place for them, but it's only when during those specific times. It's not going to be an everyday, all-day thing. So we identify those drills and we practice in those 3 tempos.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So I love the football conversation, man. It's good. It's kind of gets good to get back into it. We've been talking about a lot of different shit lately.
And to me, and this is just the last thing about football. I feel like football players are the gladiators of this generation.
Mm-hmm.
We are the warriors. We are, and I love the mere fact that we are the warriors. Creating gladiators, men amongst men, that set themselves apart from everyone else. You have that. When will you walk away from this? Like, at what point is I've done what I needed to do? I'm good with just selling off and doing something completely different. Is there a part of you that will ever just say, I did enough, I'm good?
Will the fire ever go out?
That is a great question. And, and I have kind of contemplated that in my mind as far as, what's the next thing for me? Like, what would I do next? And I haven't come up with an answer yet. So
we all seen the other guy that used to run this organization.
Yeah.
Because the fire's right there still.
He's still hot. But the other guy that
good.
used to run this thing, you didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
He just walked off like a gladiator of such, dropped his touch, and he just disappeared. And I always wondered what made him just say, okay, I've done enough.
Well, I mean, I think for me, it's my job here, from my vision for this program, is far from over. And I think I've always looked at Weber and the program here as so much potential. And I felt like we never even hardly scratched the surface of what we could accomplish. And I think that's what kind of motivates me to keep going, as well as we talked about the Shed Boys. And I feel like I've every single person that has come through this program, even if I haven't coached them directly, I've built some type of relationship with them. So I've, kind of been attached to every single person that has kind of come through this program. And I feel like for so many years that we've always just underachieved, so I feel like for me, there is so much potential here. And, I feel like being here for so long, I feel like I owe it to everybody that's come through this program to make this program successful. So then, you want to come back and watch a game on Saturdays. You want to bring your kids back to watch a game. You can say, hey, I played here. Look what it is now. So everybody can feel a little bit more of that pride, which was kind of lost for a long time.
That was actually a great point. Because when we came back for the dinner, that was like 2 years ago, right? So 2 years ago, we came back for the alumni dinner. It was the first one that was thrown. And you got a lot of the players back together, and you walk out, you see the field, walk in the locker room, see different things that were, and it wasn't even what it is now, but it's like it gives you a big sense of pride. Like right here, you're like, fuck, I was a part of this.
Correct.
That was a pretty cool feeling that night, being able to walk around and show Ash and stuff like that. And but whenever we show up here, especially on the games, and like Avery and Ryder, Mikey, and they're all, that kind of pisses me off, I'll be honest. Because you see, I'm like really interested in showing my 8-year-old, like, look at that field, like I was a part of this, right? And he's like, I don't give a shit. And he just like goes and runs and plays with everybody. But I'll be like standing at the end zone, like, damn, this is cool, right? My kid's like, I don't give a fuck. So I just no question, but a comment on that. You're right, 100%. You get a lot of pride when you put in a shit ton of work. You may not see the immediate results, but you even go 10 years after the fact when we already left. And we drove up here, and the first time I saw that field, I was like, fuck. Like, we did it. I didn't have any immediate hands. I didn't build it. I didn't do anything. But all of a sudden, it felt like, damn, I was a part of this.
I lost those games. I don't give a damn what y'all say. I lost those games. I mean.
Wait. No, now we're going to throw it out there. So we were actually talking about it. So do you remember when we went and played the Citadel? The first time we went and played the Citadel, we got, what, like $150,000 to go over there and get our asses beat? And, dude, who's the receiver? Went to the Cardinals. Andre Roberts, thank you. Gets drafted in the third round of the NFL draft that year, right? And he had a 4-minute highlight tape on ESPN during the draft day. And I'm pretty sure 3.5 minutes of it was Weber, right? We went down like 28-0 in the first 3.5 minutes.
That was right.
And the funniest part of that is the last clip of his highlight tape. You can see Keon, number 9, in the back, getting bombed.
He's pulling his flag.
I'm gonna say this again.
Hey.
VA, we were famous for cover 3.
Mm-hmm.
I got hooked to curl.
I got hooked.
He got a corner route.
But that's the problem. It's supposed to be curled to flat.
Curl flat. It's still, either way, I'm 10 years
That's why I got bombed.
So VA, he has deep thirds. It's a corner route. It's a hitch corner. Everybody's seen that play a million times. I see the hitch and I see the corner.
He sat on the hitch, and you
He sat on the hitch, and I'm over here like, where the hell are you supposed to be at? And I run towards the corner, and I just get there in time for Andre Roberts to do a celebration in my face.
Well, ask bro, how many times were you on ESPN, bro?
Yeah.
Listen, I was on ESPN. I was on ESPN once, actually, because they had a defensive end that was actually pretty good that year, too.
Oh, see, he got it, too.
Now, here's the thing, though. You remember, because I was a freshman. I was a true freshman. And I came in, it was like the second or third game that season, something like that. Damian Senor. So he comes out the game after the first drive. And you remember we had Corey as our quarterback, right? And I remember he dropped back on third down. It's like 3rd and 10. No separation from any receiver. Nothing. And he's like, fuck this. And he just dropped. Because he had 3 guys, right? And Big D, we called him. Big D comes off the field and he was like, hey, Bruck. Yeah, I'm out. I said, bro. We were already down 28-0. We had one offensive drive. And he was like, it's about that time, big guy. So I played the entire game besides the first drive as a true freshman. And I actually remember we had Coach Spiva at that time. He graded me at a C+. I felt good with that grade.
I feel like he was generous.
Yeah, he was definitely generous. Nobody should got it.
I had 2 pancakes that game, and they were both on the same play because I actually went and hit the wrong guy, and I tripped the other guy with my feet.
That's a 2.
Yeah. That sounds horrible, bro. That's
fantastic.
I want to tell you, going here for 4 years, I felt like we had spectacular talent, like some guys that were just amazing, but we had poor coaching. And coming back last year and seeing you guys out there, I felt like we had real pride in putting our players in the right position.
Right.
They just didn't perform.
There was a lot more passion from the sideline than usual.
Don't get it twisted. Like we played versus Shorter, and they ran goal line the entire game, and we're still in the 3-3 stack.
Yep.
And I'm like, when are we going to transition to prepare our gladiators to win? We weren't set up to win a lot of those games. We were already losing before we even played.
Yeah.
So this now, when I see this team now, I'm excited to come on Saturday because I seen us prepare for the team. We just have to show up.
Yeah.
That to me is better than anything else. If Mikey said he wanted to come and play at my alumni, I'm okay with that. Just because he's going to be put in a position to perform, you just got to show up.
Yeah.
Now, it feels a whole lot better. Whereas though before I was like, I can ride the pine, baby. They're going to ride. They're going to do 9 people, linemen against 6 DBs. So you were part of the coaching staff at that point. Why didn't you guys say anything? Like, this wasn't a good. I'm gonna bash him right now. I'm gonna bash.
Here. Remember, he was riding you the whole first 30 minutes. Like, hey man, you were the greatest.
Oh, he was a phenomenal player.
What the f?
Yeah, like, I always wanted to ask Pooch this. Like, you were a part of this. You have a say so. We don't have a say so. Players back in the day do as I say. Now, if you got a suggestion, we got a suggestion box for you. I'm gonna throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Now, you were a part of that.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, I've learned a lot, and I still learn every single day, as far as coaching, and, from early on, to me, it was very vanilla as far as other positions. Like, I could coach the hell out of some linebackers because that's what I played, and I understood how all the pieces went together. But as far as like schemes and stuff like that, coming in and just starting coaching, it's tough. it's tough, and be able to tweak things based off of, what certain teams do and this, that, whatever. But to be honest with you, man, a lot of those decisions were above my pay grade.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? But now they're not.
But now they're not.
That's why I'm saying it's a good transition. And I wanted to let you know I take pride in watching that, because before it was hard. Like on the sideline, you'd be like, man, we're not setting ourselves up to win. And get the game film, and I'm like, okay, these guys they just run the ball. They're not a good passer. I think Shorter had one wide receiver with one arm, and he obviously wasn't getting the ball.
He did, actually. He had one arm.
He had one arm, and he
caught a pass for 30 yards. That's true.
Don't tell anybody that. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
but that was the only pass they had.
I will say this, man. I think, and just from watching it and from evolution of the game too, I think you also, like, those are called growing pains. Like, and you just said it earlier yourself. You go through this whole process, and realistically, like, you had coaches at your disposal that you've been working with for a short period of time. So not all the expertise is sitting in the same room all the time. Now all of a sudden this happens, you're like, okay, now I know never to do this again. Then you get to the next year, and now I know not to do that again. Now I know not to do that. Now all of a sudden we're here, and you're culminating 20 years of Weber football now. And now all of a sudden, like, the coaching staff, in my opinion, is always improving, just like our ability to recruit, just like the talent we're bringing in, right? Just like the facilities, like every step of the way, like, you see the progress. That's something I think when you ask that question, I looked at it always as like, it's a growing pain. We got our ass beat, but we know for a fact if we're lined up 7, we're not going to run a 3-3 stack. We're going to game plan. We're going to figure some things out, make adjustments, those types of things. But I think it reflects in the overall program based upon now. You come to a game on Saturday, and I'm not saying this just because I'm prejudiced. I'm saying this because I've seen it. Now you come on a Saturday, we compete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes of the 9 or 10 games that we'd schedule 10, 15 years ago, I mean, it didn't feel that way.
Correct.
Sometimes it felt like we're just walking into an ass beating.
Right.
And we all knew it, kind of thing. But now it's like, holy shit, we've learned a lot. We're putting together, when we come out on Saturday, it's like, this is a great program. There's pride on the sideline. There's tons of enthusiasm. You have kids that are passionate about it. You have coaches getting just as hype as players, and they compete. And you don't really know, like, you're going in with the confidence to say, I think Weber's going to take this one.
Yeah.
So that's how that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, and really that's all you want at the end of the day, is for your players to go into a game and have confidence that they can go win.
Yeah.
And then you as coaches know that your kids are going to go compete their butts off, for 60 minutes and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
And from the coaching side too, we've tweaked some things this year, more so than we ever have, just because our conference has changed, where it was a lot more pass heavy. Now it's getting a little bit more run heavy. So our defensive scheme is now a little bit different. We're doing some different things on offense now with our new offensive coordinator. Our special teams is going to be different. So everything that we've kind of done before is going to be a lot different. And I think that's important too, because as things change, as teams change schematically, we have to be able to adapt with that. And I think that's part of coaching. Where before, like, even when my first season as defense coordinator was 2011, I think probably 50 to 60% of the time we just ran base, and it was not. It was basically just like, hey, I'm just going to call this because I know it's safe. I think we can stop them here, but it's also, I'm going to make them beat us, not us beat ourselves at that point. And it was because of lack of confidence too, on some of those things. But I think we've, especially now we're 2023, and we have an established conference where you're going to consistently play these teams every single year. You've kind of know what it is. Now we can afford to tweak some of those things, where even before, like, you might play these 10 teams one year, you might play 2 of the same teams the next year. There was no stability in recruiting because you're playing against different stuff all the time. And now that we have an established conference, and we'll play a few teams out of conference as well, a few games, but it helps you to recruit more efficiently too. Yeah. Now, hey, I know what I seen last year. I know what they're doing. I have to recruit to stop best teams.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
and scheme that way as well.
So now I'm going to
excited about
divert
that.
to the toughest question of the podcast. So I know you haven't watched. Thanks for not watching.
It's all right.
However,
it's all right.
we've had a few other players that we played here with.
He got to watch a lot of film.
I know. One of them being Nate Keller, the second one being Grady, right? And we asked those guys a question, and we asked them to compare themselves to all the other linebackers that ever stepped foot in this building and played a game, right? And we asked Nate Keller and Grady, said, who's the best linebacker that ever came through this program, right? So I'm sad to say neither one of them had the Richard Sherman approach, which I was very excited for one of them to be like, bro, that was me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Nate's grown up a lot, I think, from that side of it. If you probably would have caught him about 10 years ago, he would have told you.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to pose that same question to you, man, yourself included. Who was the best linebacker that ever played in Weber history?
I'll tell you, I played with some really good ones too. Suggs was a good one. Tate was a good one. I just talked to Gino actually a couple of days ago. He was a good one. Some guys that you play with. I mean, Yannick, Bo Barnes.
I was going to say Bo.
Matt Davidson, who played with Nate, was a good one too. He only played, defense for a short period of time. Man, I'm just trying to think about all the linebackers. We just had a good one that graduated a couple years ago, Colton Cormier. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a good player. He was smart, and so it's tough. I think we've had so many good players, so many good ones, and actually had the privilege of coaching a lot of those guys. And some of those guys, Nate's on the record board for a few things. I think Yannick's up there too for some stuff. I saw Bo actually. Y'all remember that Southern Virginia game when that kid ran that tunnel screen?
Oh, Bo ran him down?
And Bo, I thought Bo killed that kid.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all remember that. That was actually the first game ever that Coach Speakman watched. He was not even down here coaching yet. He drove over and watched that game in Virginia.
I do remember that.
And I thought Bo killed that kid.
I do remember that, absolutely, because I always distribute that best play whenever he had that pick against Pembroke back. But yes, I do.
No, I mean, that hit, the first thing that touched the ground was the back of that kid's helmet.
I know, bro. Oh, my God.
Bo was a different type of guy. And to be honest with you, Bo was like, I was bigger than Bo.
Bo looked like he was 160 pounds, like wet.
Yeah.
It was funny, but he played with attitude and he played with like ferociousness.
I thought Bo was
fantastic.
a mechanic when I first seen him. He had no football.
Bo, please God, come on this podcast.
Bo didn't look like he can do anything.
Man, I'm not going to commit to it. I had a good career here playing, and still have some records to this day. A bunch of those other guys have records.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to get me to say something,
bullshit.
man. But
I really think that's bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. What was it? Give it to number 9. We had one linebacker, and I think he's arguably the worst. I don't give a damn. We played versus Carson Newman, and he was getting cracked the entire game. He was like 6'4". Man, I can't think of his name right now. He was getting cracked the entire time, but we thought he was going to be the best thing known to man. I know you know who I'm talking about.
He played with me?
Yeah, he played with you. We always had him
Are
rushing
you
on
talking
the edge.
about Tate?
Was it Tate?
Yeah, that was Tate.
He was huge.
Yeah,
he came in.
6'3".
I was going to say he was 6'3", 6'4". He
Yeah.
looked like he was about 225, 235.
Yeah, that was
He
Tate.
came off the edge, and we thought
DT.
DT. There you go. We thought
That was it,
That was
yes.
DT. We thought DT was going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and I would choose Bo over DT any day.
Bo was a dog, man.
But Bo didn't have DT size.
Hey,
If you
know what's
had,
funny, DT gonna go on IG and be like, "Hey man, fuck you."
but we all know, DT just had the size. He didn't have the.
He had the prototypical NFL look. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he had it all. He was looked like Tarzan. Absolutely. I had no idea. I was a freshman when he was a senior, so I didn't analyze him playing. I was always trying to learn and all that shit. But I did see him a lot. Yeah.
No, in all honesty, DT had all the intangibles.
Yeah.
Bo had all the heart.
Yeah.
He took pride in every snap he was out there, and he gave it your all. And you knew you were letting Bo down if you didn't go.
Yeah.
DT, on the other hand, if man, he got cracked one too many times.
Talking shit.
Well, I think the difference is, especially with a lot of those guys, you know what I mean, that we talk about, not just linebackers, but any good player. It's the ability is one thing, but then the work ethic and the things that you do to prepare over the summer.
Yep.
Is the other thing. And then the third thing is, the time that you put into watching film to learn your craft. There's so many people that are great athletes, but lack the other two.
Yep.
There's so many people that are great athletes that work hard over the summer, but they don't put the time into watching film, or they might be really smart, watch film, understand it, and, they're good players, but they don't put the work in over the summer. So the special ones are the ones that can put all three of those things together.
So we'll kind of finish up with this one of the last questions, but what if you had a piece of advice that you would give to high school kids? Because honestly, one of the things I wanted to put this together for was we want to use it as get to know who you are, right? We have a big standing when it comes to this university, and we're very proud of where this program has come. And, it's definitely something I'm never ashamed to step up on a pedestal and say, I went here, so what? And
you donated money.
Oh, yeah, there's a big sign there that says sponsored by Mike Bruck and family. No big deal. Fuck it.
That's a big deal.
But at the same time, what piece of advice would you give to kids in high school that are coming up, possibly looking to get, some type of scholarship, looking to play at the next level? Like, what's something that you would say to those kids?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is, there can be an opportunity for pretty much everybody to go on and play college football. Now, you could be, a Division I kid, could be a Division III guy, could be a guy that goes to a prep school, whatever the case may be. There's plenty of opportunities for everybody. Now, then it all comes back to, your academics, right? And understand the importance of, everybody says you got to get good grades. Yeah, but what does that mean, right? So, we're looking at your GPA and that to us, if you got a 2.5 GPA or you got a 3.5 GPA, we're looking at that as, basically your work ethic before we even get to your coach. If you're an overachiever in the classroom, a lot of times that translates to a lot of other things in your life, AKA athletics and your ability to, want to go do the extra little things to make yourself, more marketable.
Yeah.
So understand the importance of the classroom and understand the importance of your work ethic. Okay. Not always looking for, which high school program do I need to go to that's going to give me the best exposure? Well, to me, I think that's not true. Your work ethic is going to determine, kind of what you get out of it. And by that, what I mean is you can be the worst football player on your team and still understand how to work hard. You can be a 7-year-old kid playing Little League baseball and not be very good, but still understand how to hustle and do things fast. And, so my point is there is, a good work ethic, and understand the importance of having to do things to the best of your ability, not do things just to get through it.
Yeah.
All right. So, I think if you're looking at those, you're looking at academic stuff and you want somebody that has a good work ethic, that wants to work hard, that wants to be successful. If you have those things, then we can kind of teach you a lot of those other things if you're willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
So don't always look for the, what next high school program I can get to, who's going to get me the most accolades, this, that, whatever. Find you a place, be comfortable, commit to them, commit to the team, commit to the process of trying to get yourself better.
That's awesome.
And work hard.
That's awesome. So we will now transition to our favorite segment, which is Spice of the Week, sponsored by Joe's Backyard Smokehouse. If you haven't been to Joe's, go check it out. He's got phenomenal ribs, chicken, the whole shebang. You familiar with Spice of the Week? Not really.
We talked about it a little bit. Now you're going to have to
briefly.
refresh my memory here.
Yeah,
It's all right. I'll just kick it off.
Yeah, so Spice of the Week is everybody goes through a week, right? Monday through Sunday. And majority of people, here's where the line is. You're having a normal week, right? There's typically in every single week, there's always that little something where sometimes you're having a dog shit week and it just kind of picks that thing back up just a little bit. Or you're having a phenomenal week and it's because of this thing that happened, right? And the idea is to make sure that as you're going through your week, you're looking at the little things that not everything, when you feel like everything's crumbling around you, there's always something that we can look at that picks me back up, helps me finish, get through adversity, right? So that's the idea behind Spice of the Week. So we'll have Kanyeezy kick it off.
I mean, my spice of the week is relatively simple, man. We're in Florida. It's the summertime. You know, Pooch is just like me. Our kids go to the same elementary school. Not having to wake up and take this kid, pack his lunch, doing all those little tedious things, getting his uniform ready, just waking up and just being around your kid and just loving on him, heading to the beach and just watching the sun go down with him. It was the most peaceful moment I can ask for as a parent. Like, you know, you feel like you're always in the hustle and bustle. You always have some place you have to be as a parent. And when it's the summertime, you just can be a parent. No ifs, ands, buts about it. You're not going on anyone else's rules or tangents or making sure you read for an hour a day or something like that. Now it's just, you're just my son. And we can go do whatever we want to do. So we train together. We wake up, we eat together, we grind together. It's just like Bad Boys for Life for me. So
hey, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to follow that.
So it's on you, Pooch.
That's a great one, actually.
Well, I got a bunch of examples, actually. I'm just trying to figure out which one I want to use.
There you go.
You know, I kind of look at it from a personal side as well as, you know, a business side too, and as far as my job. So I'll give you two of both. Or one of each, two total. So I think on a personal side, my wife's been kind of going through some things family-wise. Her great-grandmother just passed away, 106 years old.
Wow.
Right? About to be 107. Didn't quite make it. So she's seen a long life. But, you know, seeing her family kind of go through this and, you know, of course, everybody wants to say, well, you know, she's lived a long life and, you know, kind of that side. You know, so kind of dealing with, you know, some family stuff, you know, on that side of it and, you know, funeral viewing, you know, all those things. I think just in this week in particular. But then, you know, my son he's going through a fishing camp right now.
Yeah.
So he's doing that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 4 days, you know, so it's kind of cool for him to get back and hear some of his stories, how he told me he caught 20 bluegill yesterday and how he hooked into a 30-pound something or other, which is, you know, and how he almost got it in, but it spit the bait out. So, you know, just seeing his excitement, you know what I mean, as far as, you know, some of the things that, you know, things that he's enjoying right now, just, you know, kind of going through fishing camp. My daughter actually just had her tonsils taken out. So that kind of on top of that, but just, you know, seeing how strong she was going through that. I mean, the doctors, the nurses, you know, me and my wife were kind of nervous about it at first, right? But then, you know, she's up smiling and sitting on the bed and doing everything like in the hospital or whatever. And, you know, she comes out and she was just a trooper about it, you know, and you know, every night before she goes to bed, I tell her, I said, I love my baby. And she says, I love my dad.
Nice.
You know, and goes to sleep.
I'm not crying.
You know, so that's the personal one. But now on the schooling side over here, we talked about some of the projects we're trying to get done, and we were kind of at a little standstill with, you know, kind of our bleacher project and getting some movement on some things. So we got some good news on that early this week. We've got, you know, a contractor that's actually stepping in to help us with that project. Leo's Construction, I'll give him a shout out.
Nice.
And then Matt Yentes, who his dad was a former president here, and Matt used to work here. Matt works for Leo. He has jumped in full swing on that and working on permitting and a bunch of those things. So he's pushing our bleacher project now and trying to get the concrete stuff and all that situated. So, you know, we've got some things, you know, moving on that side of it. And as many guys as we try to recruit on a daily basis, we got another 5 commits this week, you know, so we're starting to solidify some things. So, you know, with every bad thing that happens, then, you know, something positive is always going to come out on the other end. So,
like that.
you know, it's sometimes that's harder to see, but
yes.
here we
So,
are.
yeah, he had like 3 or 4 in there, and all of them were pretty dope.
Want me to keep going?
No, I mean, listen, I'm
going how
always
good my life
happy.
is, baby.
I mean, you found those little things to be happy about. A lot of people always feel like, man, life sucks. No, man, this right here, I tell them about it, you are where you're supposed to be at.
Yes.
And just remember that and hold true to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember the adversity part that we were talking about earlier with our players and our team and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, that directly is linked to all those things, right? I mean, it's every day. We know that.
Yep. Absolutely. That's awesome, dude. I'm kind of fired up right now. You know what I'm saying? Feel like I want to play again. No, not really.
Not really.
All right.
Really.
So,
I'll put the cleats on. That's about it.
yeah, put the cleats on. It just deflates, you know? So my spice of the week this week, truthfully, was kind of the idea of looking forward to coming back here and shooting this podcast. It's kind of lame. A little bit, I know. A little bit of a letdown because you guys came through big and I'm coming through a little bit of a lame one. But every time I get to come back here, I get really excited because it's a place where I think you'll agree to this. When I came in, I was a shithead and I was a moron and I really didn't understand how the world worked. And I got in a lot of shit here. I got in a lot of trouble here. I had some great moments here. And I got made fun of a lot by certain people, right? I got rightfully so, you know. And then there's a trainer in there that used to give me shit on a daily basis, and I spent 5.5 years here. Finished as, from what I understand, one of the last graduate assistants here. And when I got out in the world, I excelled more than I ever thought I could. And it seemed like everything I put my hands in was just easy. It was easy to put it together. And going through the years and where I'm at now, looking back, I've never been more appreciative of all the shit that I got from people trying to teach me lessons here. And it's put me in a position where now I have a lot of comfort. And, you know, I'm always thankful, and I always love coming back here, being able to bullshit with you, being able to chit-chat with the coaches, learn more about what the program's trying to do. And it just kind of gives me a little bit of juice, you know what I'm saying? Gets me a little fired up, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, it's cool to be back here, you know? So some people look at it as, oh, damn, people were doing this. But when you get through it and you see why and all the lessons that I was able to learn, I was able to grow, I was able to develop, not only as a player, but as a person and as a human being, and learn morals, everything all together. So that's why coming here, shooting this one is my spice of the week.
Well, I will tell you this, though. All the shit that we gave you, you deserved every single bit
I
of
did.
it.
Yeah,
but
I
look
did.
at you now, man. You're good.
Look,
You're successful, baby. You're
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah.
a little overweight, but, you know, fuck it.
It's all right. That means you're eating good. That's all that means. You're
This
eating
is good. It's all good. Like,
And you're
fuck
not
it.
working
So-
out. But
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And if you haven't already, if you don't know, right, we have Coach Pooch here, head coach of Weber International University football. Go find these guys on all their socials. What are all the socials you guys have?
We got Facebook, Twitter. I think some of the coaches have Instagram. We got everything.
Everything. So if you're looking for a program that you want to follow, say you're in the Central Florida area or wherever it is, if you're looking for maybe even a smaller program to look at, not just Division I, Florida, all that bullshit, even though they suck, look to this guy. Look to this program because they're doing some great things. We have a great head coach here, somebody that believes in really helping create better lives for all the kids that come through this program. And that's something that I jump behind every single time. So like I said, go follow all these guys on social media. Make sure you guys go to 2 Dimes and a Token on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button.
You already
right?
know.
Leave comments. And for the last fucking time, I'm going to tell you guys, leave your spice of the week in the comment section. We want to know what is helping you get through the week. We want to know how you're feeling, right? We want you to get involved in the conversation. We want to pull you in, and we want you to be a part of it. So go in the comments section. Tell us your spice of the week. That way we can chat with you.
he said that a little bit aggressively.
Hell yeah, I said it
I
aggressively.
want you guys to know one last thing. Weber is good for one thing. Your name and not a number. So if you want to go to a place where people are going to remember your name, come here. If you want to go to a place where your number, go wherever you want to go. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Like and subscribe. And
Like and subscribe.
Stay
do all
tuned
the
in.
Good shit. Stay tuned in. I'm calling it right now. Weber goes undefeated. Mic drop. Later.
Appreciate it.
2 dimes and a token. Give me